Sonic the Hedgehog, he's a blue hero who runs faster than the speed of sound. He wears red and white sneakers, he eats fast food, and he loves to stop a guy who's trying to rule the world who dresses in red and yellow. Wait a second, does Sonic represent America? Now let's start off with the meat of this theory. The basics start off with Sonic is red, white, and blue, and that obviously means America. He also eats chili dogs, skateboards, and does everything the 90s American person would do. Now, first I will confirm one thing. Sonic's attitude has been confirmed to be inspired by President Bill Clinton, but his red and white shoes are actually inspired by Michael Jackson and Santa Claus. So, yeah, he wasn't red, white, and blue because of America. He was blue because of the Sega logo, and he had the shoes because of Michael Jackson, and the red and white came from Santa Claus. That's just that one right there. Now let's look at his polar opposite, Ivo Robotnik. Ivo and Robotnik obviously sounding like Russian last names. He's a guy who dresses in red and yellow and tries to use machines to take over the world. This is obviously the representation of Soviet Russia, who also had red and yellow and were using their mechanical geniuses to help dominate most of Europe. Now, there are plenty of things that I could say to where this could be countered, but we're talking about American Sonic. So, for the most part, there's nothing we can really do to pinch a hole in this theory, because we made Dr. Robotnik seem like he was the most evilest thing alive in America, unlike in Japan, where he's the goofiest thing and no one ever took him seriously, ever. But that's only the beginning for this theory, because it moves on to explain the other Sonic characters. It goes on to say Tails represents the space race between America and Russia. And in case you didn't know what that is, you might want to study up on it. But in the 50s and 60s, America was trying to beat Russia to the moon. So we were building rockets and constantly competing. We didn't get the first satellite up, but we ended up landing on the moon first, or so people say. But I ain't gonna touch into the crazy moon landing faking right now. We'll move on to that maybe some other time, but I doubt it, because we mainly only do theories here. So, yeah. Tails represents that because he has a thing for planes. And in case you didn't notice, he kind of does that all the freaking time. He's always constantly building ships and more vehicles so then he can get up to space to fight Dr. Robotnik. Now, that's how this theory centers around, is that Dr. Robotnik and Sonic both fight in space, so that's how that one represents it. And Sonic didn't go into space in the first game, which he did, but we're gonna let this theory go with this one. Now, what does Knuckles represent? You may think boxing, because America and Soviet Russia had boxing matches, but no. Knuckles represents, of course, the arms race, because people wanted to prove their superiority by showing off their weapons. Sonic first was showing off his supersonic form, then Eggman showed off that he had Knuckles. Knuckles is a powerhouse with a really strong punch and can knock out Supersonic. And then eventually when Sonic gets Knuckles on his side, he ends up taking advantage of it and beating Eggman. So Knuckles is the arms race, so having the weapons made America prove their superiority in this case. And as far as I know, we both had pretty decent amount of weapons. I don't think there's really any winner with weapons, because we had a ton of nukes, they had a ton of nukes. We had a bunch of weapons, they had a bunch of weapons. But yeah, that's what the theory says. Knuckles represents the arms race. So Tails represents the space race, Knuckles represents the arms race. What does Sonic represent? He represents America itself. Sonic is the lazy but willing to fight whenever he has to. He eats a ton of fast food, and he just has that attitude. And that's just how this theory goes with it. Basically, Sonic's the living 90s stereotype, so that could actually work in this theory's favor, because the Cold War did take place in the 90s as well. So yeah, and it actually ended right before the first Sonic game was released. But the likelihood of this being is very unlikely. Let me explain to you in the second part of this video. All up to this point, Sonic being America and Eggman being Russia would be believable. if it was for the fact that Sega was aiming for an American audience. But America is not the only country Sega was aiming for. Sega was also aiming for their own country of Japan and Europe. What's in Europe? Russia. Russia is right next to Europe. They were marketing for Russians as well. So to insult the Russians by making them the villain would look bad on Sega's behalf. That's where a lot of the damp gets on this theory, where the fact that a lot of Sonic fans were Russian at the time. Almost as big as the American Sonic fans. They had Sonic competitions over there. Sonic game shows. It was big. The fact that Sega would aim Sonic for only an American audience at the time would be very, very stupid. And I think that they weren't. All these things are just coincidences. So that's where this theory starts to kind of fall apart. But just in theory-wise, we could see how it could look like that. Yes, Tails only focuses on flying in space. Yes, Knuckles focuses only on brute strength. And this theory is a good one. So overall, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 believability on this one, because the evidence is there to hint at it, but seeing how Sega was aiming for a worldwide audience, not just an American one, really puts the disbelievability on this one. So I hope you like this theory. If you got any more out there for me to discuss or that you would like me to talk about, just leave it down in the thing below. And I'm going to be coming up with some new videos, and we're working on a big project right now for everybody. So yeah, stay tuned for that. If you like this video, subscribe and share. This has been Dylan. Bye. Dr. Eggman Robotnik, a guy who can pull off a mustache and who's been trying to take over the world since 1991. He has a